Welcome guys. This tutorial we will learn how to build a basic data table in React which has pagination, search functionality and sorting functionality in React using React Bootstrap. So this is the final output that we will get. For this I have a sample application which just have some Bootstrap HTML. So now let's convert this to a full-fledged data table. Now I have a data table component which in turn exports three components, which is header, pagination and search. So let me first divide all these components into subcomponents so it will be easy for us to make the functionality. I'm using React Bootstrap's pagination here, and now we can remove this pagination input here, and then let me move this search input to the search component that I've already created. Let me return the input. We will write this functionality later in the video part 2. And I'm having a separate component for table headers, which we will write functionality for sorting. Right now we just return the HTMLs from this, and side by side we'll start developing it. Now I'll import all three components and use it inside the application. So pagination and a search and a table header. Now let's first call an API to get the list of commands. I'm using a JSON placeholder API here, so it will return 500 commands. So we will apply all this search, pagination and sorting on these commands. For this on page load, I will call use effect that will run only once when you load the page. In this I will call the API JSON placeholder API and update the comments in the state, which accepts two parameters. One is a function and the dependency list. If the dependency list is empty in use effect, then this will act as a component did mount in state component. Now I will call getData, where we'll use Axios to fetch. Or let me go and see the website. Let's take this fetch request and we'll use it for this demo. If you are using Axios, you can use Axios here. So once we get the response, I will set the state with this comments that I got from the API. Here I am going to have a full page loader, and if you want to know how to build this use full page loader hook, then the description for the video is in the link. You can go and check that. It's a cool way of using full page loader wherever we want. I have created it as a separate hook. So I'll just call show loader, and once we get the response, I will add a hide loader function, and I need to add the loader here. So this is just to show a loading spinner when we fetching the data from server. So we'll set the JSON to comments state, and then now let's create a header array. We will define the headers here, which has name and field. Field is the corresponding field in the response that we got. So we'll pass this to table header, and we'll go inside the header and just make use of this and render it dynamically. So I'm making this because to reuse this header component in multiple places in your application, you need to make it dynamic. So I'm going to map this headers and just render the th, that's a table header, with the value from the array that we just created, which is just name and the field. Here I'm just going to use name right now. We'll print the name here, head.name, and we'll remove this HTML. And then we need to supply a key for React to actually know what to update. This is a part of React. Okay, we need to close the expression. Okay. Now I think we're done with the header component. This will render as per our array of objects. Now let's replace this with the comments that we just have it in the state. Before that, I'm going to use another variable. I'm going to do all the computations here. For example, pagination, search, and sorting inside this. For that, I'm using use memo because this is a compute heavy functionality here. So using your use memo will actually act as a cache for that. So this function will be triggered only when its dependency list is changed. One of the dependencies is changed. So let's make it comments data. So I will use the comments here. First assign this to some other variable. So we will put all these operations on this array, and we'll simply return this computed comments at the last. So in upcoming videos, you will be working on this function to make a search and pagination work. So let's take this comments data and map it to show the table rows, making this as expression and using map function. Which will give us a comment, and then we will return the comment. And we'll change all the values according to what we need to display. I'm going to display command.id, command.name, command.email, and command.body. It depends on what fields you're going to display. Now let's go and check. Use memo is not defined. Okay, it's not imported yet. Now let's import it. Headers is not. There was a typo in headers. Let's go and fix it. It's inside table headers component. Yeah. Update it with headers. Still there is some problem. I guess it's a problem with the response, comment response. Okay, this shouldn't be to-dos, it should be comments. To-dos endpoint just gives object, but comments endpoint gives us array of 500 comments. Let's go and check it. Now we can see the comments that we received from the API, and which has 500 comments, as you can see now. So now we'll implement pagination, which just has 50 pages, 50 items per page. For this, let me go back to this data table component, and let's create some series of states here to maintain the item count, total items, current page, and all. So we'll create two states here. One is the total item that we have to render, and we'll have the second parameter is set total to update the value. And the next one is we need the current page to actually slice it from the array of comments. So we need to know on which page the user is and right now. And then I'm just going to define a constant items per page, which is 50. I'm going to display 50 items per page in the pagination. So if you remember, I mentioned about this thing. We'll do all the computation later. We'll first pass all the property that we have to the pagination component, and let's enter the pagination first. So the pagination component needs total items that it needs to render to actually first calculate number of pages. Then it needs to know how many items that we are going to display per page. You can actually make this in some constant file so that you can use it across your application. And the current page number to actually highlight the current page. And one callback function for page change event. So whenever user clicks on some pagination item, we will trigger this callback so that to update the current page in this main page. Let's go into pagination and build this. So now this will accept all the parameters that we just passed. So I will going to use destructuring with some default value, of course, total 0 and items per page. Let's set this to 10 as a default. Then the current page, by default it is the first page that we are going to render, and the on page change callback function. Now we will create a state to maintain we'll first calculate what number of pages that we need to render, how many pages that we need to render, and store it in the state. So by default I will set it 0, and this is total pages. Just need to know how many pages that we need to render. That means how many pagination items that we are going to render for the given comments, total comments. So for this we'll use effect hook, which will accept the total and items per page as a dependency. Whenever it changes, this effect will trigger. So we will calculate the number of pages again. So the first is the function callback. The second is the dependency list where total pages, total, and this is like total items and the items per page. Okay, here I'm just going to use math.sale function. Let's first check how to check for total items and items per page. Because if 0 we pass 0, then it might throw error on our calculation. So set total pages and math.sale. Sale will always round to the upper limit. So let's say if it is 3.2, it will round to 4. If it's 3.8, it will again round to 4. Because anyway we need to render the last page with even one item or 50 items. So we need the last page. So it's item math.sale will provide that. So we'll set that as a total pages. Now I'm going to use memo here. Here is the place where we actually create our items dynamically based on the total number of pages. So use memo will be triggered when the dependency list change. Otherwise it will not called unnecessarily. It is like cache, so like Redis cache that we use in the server side. It will always return the cached version of it. It will not run the compute or the function to compute it. So let's create a pages array, and we will use for loop here to run it total pages time to render the total pages. Now I'm going to use the pagination items here. So I'll copy the pagination items and render it dynamically. So the page is the I. It will start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes on till the number of pages that we need to render. and then we will set active based on the current page that we have. If I equal to current page, then this will be highlighted in the UI. So these are all part of properties of this pagination item in pagination, React Bootstrap pagination. So whenever we click on the item, we will call the callback that we have on page change and pause the current page that needs to be displayed, which is I. And then we will return now. So okay, first we need to push all this inside the pages. And then we will return this pages. So this pages will be calculated only when this items per page or current page change, total pages or current page changes. So unnecessary computation will be saved for us for performance optimization. So we'll render the pagination here, and we are also having previous and next button. So it's that simple. So whenever we click on previous, we will call the on page change callback with the current page -1. It's the previous page, so that is current page -1. And we will disable this when the current page is the first page. So obviously when the current page is the first page, we cannot go to the previous page, so we will disable it. And we copy the same to next button with little changes on it, which will be current page +1 because it is the next page, and disable current page equal to total pages. If it is the last page, we will disable this. Now our component for pagination is done. And one more thing is we will render null if total pages is 0, so that nothing will be displayed to the user if there was no item in the array. Now let's go here, and now we need to slice it based on the current page. So here on the computed commands, we will slice it. It should be the start and ending limit. So the start is current page -1 because the page always starts from 1 and the index always starts from 0. So it will be like 0 into items per page, which is 50, is again start from 0, and the second parameter is the next limit, start and limit, which is current page -1 into items per page, which again will evaluate to 0 for the first page, and we will plus the items per page, which is 50. Now the slice will be from 0 to 50. So when page is 2, it will be 50 to 100. That is how this will evaluate to. And then we need to add the current pages to this dependency list for this use memo, and we need to set the total items here. So this is used for when we have search and other things. So now it was the length of the total items that we have, and we'll add the current page to the dependency list. Now let's go and check if it is working. Now we have the pagination with 10 pages because we have 500 items, and 50 items per page will render 10 pagination. Now the pagination is rendering as expected. We have a previous button and next button which is also working. So this is the basic pagination functionality that was available for this component table, data table. So in next video we will see the search.
Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe for more videos like this.